Have you ever experienced a God wink? You know, the kind of experience you know without a shadow of a doubt that God stepped in and gave you a big old wink from heaven. I'm your host, Cindy Spar, broadcasting from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. I am the founder of My Collective Network and My Christian Business Network, two amazing business networking organizations. I am a firm believer that there is power in sharing God wink stories. Think of it as a way for people to shine their light on Jesus, one wink at a time. In Matthew 5:14, it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Hi, everyone. This is Cindy Spar coming to you live from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. And I am so excited and pumped for episode 3, and this is why. Recently, we just got through Christmas, guys, right? And what is it without a Christmas story to inspire you and show you where God comes in and gives a wink to say, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I got you, and I'm with you. So I want to take some time today to introduce you to a fellow member of my church at Woodside Bible Church, Chesterfield. Woo, woo! Give a little shout out there. But I am so excited to have Allison Bordato here with me today. Such an exciting time. I'm so glad you're able to step in for a little bit and share with us how God showed up big in your life. Yes. And before we even dive into the actual story, tell our listeners a little bit about you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. This is such a treat. I am a member of Woodside and first and foremost a follower and a lover of Jesus. I'm a mom of 5 kiddos. Woo! I've got 5. Not intentionally, but I will not take up your whole podcast with how we got to 5. We have 4 daughters and 1 son. I'm a wife and a professional. I get to work in the staffing industry and feel really blessed just to connect people with meaningful work. So,
bless your heart.
A little bit about me.
Yes. And you even shared with me, I was so impressed of your journey with staffing, and can't wait for you to share with our listeners about how God stepped into that journey for who you're working with. So let's just dive into it. Okay. I would love for you to share with our listeners what happened before Christmas that blew your mind.
So I started my new job at the end of October, and part of what drew me to the new opportunity was just the core values of the company that I'm now with. And so it is Christ-centered from a leadership perspective, and one of their major values is giving back to the local community because we staff roles here in the local community. And so as their operations director, they said, Allison, we want you to kick off and head up our Christmas giving this year. And so they mentioned they typically do adopt a family, and they usually work with a company or an organization called Marty's Mantle, which I was unfamiliar with. But I reached out and said, hey, we want to be a part of this. Do you have a family that would be, benefit from our support? And they wrote back and said, no, we're full. All of our families have been adopted this year. And so thank you for reaching out, but we're good. And I felt, I think, the little nudge from God saying, Allison, that's great that you're trying to help, this organization, but maybe there are people closer to you and closer to your circle that could benefit from this. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Pastor Winston and see if there's anybody or a family, in our church family that would benefit from the adoptive family. And so I did. I reached out, shot him a quick email, and he quickly wrote back and said, yep, I've got your person. I'm going to connect you. And so it was it was meant to be.
And it was so, from what you were telling me, it was so close too when the moment that Pastor Winston received the family that needed the help was so close to when this was happening, correct?
Yeah, there were a few things that were just, I think normal people would call them weird, but believers know that there's a plan and there's a God that orchestrates this. And so one of the things that came out through this was I just said, Pastor Winston, I'm so excited. This is going to be great. And thank you for, making the connection. And he said, Allison, you want to hear what's even greater is I had a discussion yesterday with a member of our church that said, Pastor Winston, there's this family in need. They're really hurting right now. I know this is a tough time, especially, around the holidays. We need to do something. Somebody's got to intercede here.
Yeah.
And so he said, I got your email that following Monday. So on Sunday, somebody expressed the need. And on Monday, I received your email asking if you could support. And so that, to me, was just God making the connection.
Yeah. It's like you just know without a shadow of a doubt. It was him.
Yes.
So tell us about what happened then, letting this family know that, hey, we want to come in and support you.
Yeah. So with Marty's mantle, it would have been further removed. So I would have been just working with somebody, a part of that organization, and they would have kind of facilitated all the details. But in this instance, I spoke with the father of the family. He was just really transparent and kind of talked about what led to this season of their life and some of the challenges they have been through. They also have 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy, same makeup as my family. And so I identified a lot with just the funny things that come along with having a family of 5, the logistical issues, the joys, right? So we shared on a natural, level, just kind of with what life was like being a family of 7 with 5 kiddos. And just hearing his personal story and kind of what contributed to their challenging time, I also identified with that. And so it was an opportunity for me just to share about some seasons of my life where financially things were tough and just, there were certain contributing factors. And I got to give a little bit of encouragement, too, to say, God has been so faithful. And even through those really hard times, I've seen his hand of provision. And sometimes it doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of blessings, but that's just how God works, and it does come in seasons. And so, there will be seasons for you where you're not on the receiving end, where you're able to give. And so try just to pour out a little bit of encouragement, too, to say you shouldn't feel ashamed.
Right.
This is just God doing what he does, and this is your season of receiving right now.
Yeah, those are things you want to remember for the times it gets rough, to know that he's there. He hears it. He's got you.
Yes.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So did you actually get to experience, like, you talked to the dad. Did you get to experience the rest of the family or anything?
I know them just from church, some of the children. So I'm active in the student ministry.
Okay.
And so I've gotten to know them. And I didn't know that I knew them when I was talking to him, and then kind of pieced it together that I'm like, I've had those kiddos in my Sunday school class.
Yeah.
So just knowing their personalities and seeing their sweet little faces and knowing directly the people that we were buying for and impacting.
Yeah.
It was a different level of just excitement and fulfillment because, it was so personal.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
I would love for you to share just a little bit. You told me a little bit of what led up to you even working at that company that you're with. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So God blessed me before I even had the chance to do the Adopt a Family. But I worked for a company for about 2 years prior to coming to my current role. And we experienced a lot of layoffs because of the economy. So we were working just crazy hours. And honestly, we were doing probably 2 or 3 jobs for each person to accommodate, all the layoffs that were happening. I did not identify with a lot of the values within the organization. And just progressively through that last year in particular, I knew that my time was limited there and that I really struggled, I think, on a day-to-day basis, finding fulfillment, There wasn't the work-life balance, and again, just the core values didn't align. And being in staffing with the economy not being as good as it has been, a lot of staffing companies aren't hiring, and companies aren't looking to hire.
Yeah.
And so I was stressed a little bit about what my next move would be, but really gave it to God and said, you've been faithful, and I give this to you. This is beyond me. I don't know what my next step is, but I trust you. And I got a phone call. I think it was probably late in August, maybe early September, from a gentleman that was the developer for all of Express Employment Professionals in Michigan, saying, Allison, I know we connected in 2016. I kind of came after you, tried to recruit you to come to my company. Loved him, and we totally connected, but it just wasn't the right timing. And he said, what are you doing now? Are you happy? What are you looking to do? And shared a little bit about the opportunity with Express. And the timing couldn't be better. Oh. And again, it's nothing that I could have, that I didn't seek it out, hadn't reached out to him. It was, again, God's timing and his perfect plan. And so he had this role, I have no doubt, just identified for me. And I'm happier than I've been in a really long time.
That's so beautiful. And I was really encouraged when you said, and it's a Christian owned,
Yes.
So it's nice to have someone that's of like-mindedness, right?
Yes.
Leading the way.
Well, in the interview process, they opened it up and just said, Allison, tell me about yourself. And so it was unusual, but really great to say, I love Jesus, and that impacts everything I do, including how I operate professionally. And so as I approach business, as I engage with clients, as I lead my team, everything I do is based upon that value system. And so I was able to share that openly during my interview, which I was like, whew, I don't know.
You didn't be like a fig leaf, like, I can't really tell you everything.
Right? And so it was just really cool to come in so authentically and to let them know that dominates my life and kind of dictates how I operate. And so anything that you can expect from me is going to be because of that lens and from that lens. So it was just a really unique and kind of cool experience to come and lead with that.
So making you feel like you were coming into the right family.
Yeah, it feels homey.
Yeah.
And through the giving, too, through this adoptive family, it's not only been impactful on me and hopefully on the family that we blessed, but on my colleagues, because I can share that there are non-believers, right, on my team. Right. And I think just being able to share how God, first blessed me with this job and now, allowed me this opportunity to extend the blessing on to a member of our Woodside family. It's been just a really cool testimony, I think, to my staff as well, and to people that may be like, that there's something there. There's something behind that. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't even realize the light that it shines into other situations.
Yes.
Until sometimes God gives us a little peek.
I agree. Yeah, peek behind the curtain. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah. Keep at it. That's his way of encouraging you to don't stop. Keep going.
Yes. I agree.
Well, if there was one piece of information that you would want to make sure, without a shadow of a doubt, our listeners take away from our time here together, what would it be?
I think it's just God's faithfulness. And so, and I'm going to get emotional, but he's been so faithful in all aspects of my life. I mean, there's not enough time here today to discuss it. This is just one little avenue, but his faithfulness has just been non-stop. And even in times where I didn't see a path through and I didn't understand how things were going to work out, it has. And he's shown up over and over and over again. And so I would just say, don't doubt his faithfulness. When times seem tough, lean into God. And you'll see it looking back. And I try to encourage myself the same way when I go through some hard things. I'm like, silly me. Like, just look back and see what he's done. Mm-hmm. Why do I even doubt? And so I think it's just standing firm on his faithfulness.
Mm-hmm. We were talking this morning even about how we have emotions. God put emotions in us, right? Like, he knows they're there.
Yeah.
It's how long do we sit in them is what's the critical part of, like, if you're sad, if you're angry, whatever emotion you're going through, if you're sitting in it and you're not letting it, giving it to God, that's when it turns, right? Like,
yes.
to where,
yes.
you know, he's like, no, I want you to give that to me now. It's okay for you to feel that way, and you can have that moment.
Yes.
But give it to me.
Absolutely.
And so we've been talking about in the first episode is the importance, too, to journal what's happening, right?
My dad's been a huge encourager to say, Allison, journal, write this down so that when you have that next challenging season, you can look back mm-hmm. and see his faithfulness and also see, you know, how you felt in that moment. It was really dark. It was really hard. Because sometimes I think it's easy to look back and minimize the challenges because mm-hmm. it worked out.
Yeah.
And so I think I know I need to be better about that.
Mm-hmm.
About, you know, really taking a moment to be real about how tough things were, and then also to note God's faithfulness and how he made a way.
Yeah. And two, I don't have the best memory, so I say this all the time. I'm like, if I don't write it down, I'm just not going to remember it. Like, I know he showed up, but when you're really deep in the valley, you need to know how he specifically showed up, not just that, I know he showed up in my life, but if I can remember the specifics of it, it helps get me out of that valley.
Yes. All the details and how all the little details come together beyond anything that you could formulate or orchestrate. Yeah, I totally agree.
There's a podcast that I was listening to, and it's called She Is Called, faith-based, and Stacy Crown's the host of it, and she said that every morning she would wake up and she would get in a journal and she would write, "Today I feel ... And I was like, And she's like, because I never reflect. I'm a mom of little kids. Yeah. So, like, I get up and I'm going.
Yes.
But if I have just even 15 minutes or 5 minutes to reflect on how I feel, and then I started building on that and just showing gratitude on what was the day before, so that when you go through it, you almost have this legacy, too, to where your kids could look at this journal day to day and see, like, oh, mom went through stuff. Today she felt sad. Today she felt whatever it was. Could have been happy. Yes. But then it shows God at work as almost like a book.
I love that.
You know? So, well, I just want to thank you, Allison, so much for sharing with us what happened, how God used you in this situation and blessing a family. And I just can't wait to hear what's in store, especially with the new career. That's exciting. And I'm sure I'm going to see you in the kids ministry.
I'll be there
this Sunday.
Thank you for having me. This is a treat. Yeah.
Well, guys, that's it for today. But man, we have so many more stories that are in store for you. So if you have not done so already, click and subscribe so that you're in the know of the next God Wink happening in our studio. Have a blessed day, and we will see you on our next episode. I want to give a big thank you to Office Evolution Troy for providing their podcast studio for us this afternoon to record. If you have any questions or you would like to book your own time in their podcast studio, give them a call at 586-788-9966. If today's God Wink story really hit home with you, we would love to hear about it through the God Wink community on Facebook. If you know of someone that needs to hear today's God Wink story, show them some love and tag them on the God Wink podcast. You never know how a God Wink story might change their day around for the better. If you or someone you know has a God Wink story that the world needs to hear, we want to hear it. Simply click the link within the podcast notes to send in your God Wink story. Until next time, remember, God's got you. Wink, wink.